Thank you for joining us. This is story time with twisted slivers from the paranormal, the unreal, the real, fictional, and maybe just a sprinkle of truth.
Absent reality. Margaret sat at the small round table in her kitchen, stirring a cup of tea. The rhythmic clinking of the spoon against the porcelain filled the silence of the morning. The air was thick, and the scent of toast and jam, 2 plates set neatly on the table, one for herself and one for her beloved Daniel. He'd left early for work, as he often did, and his absence, a familiar presence in their home, was slightly comforting. She sighed, glancing at the untouched breakfast across from her. He always forgets to eat, she thought. She softly smiled and took a sip of her tea. The phone broke the silence. Her mother's voice was on the other end.
"Margaret, dear, we need to talk. Can you meet me today?"
"Of course, Mother," she said, twirling the wedding band on her finger. "Daniel's away for business, so I have time." A long pause.
Yes, I know, honey," her mother replied carefully. "I'll pick you up at noon."
Margaret didn't think much of the oddness in her mother's tone. She simply went about her day, tidying up the house, fluffing Daniel's pillow, perfectly made, the bed, and placing his favorite book on the nightstand for when he returned home. At noon, her mother arrived, and her eyes were filled with something Margaret couldn't quite place. Was it pity? Worry? She wasn't sure. "Where are we going, Mother?" Margaret asked as she settled into the passenger seat. Her mother hesitated before answering.
"Somewhere important, dear."
The drive felt unusually long, the road stretching in unfamiliar directions. Margaret began to feel a little strange. She watched the buildings give way to endless fields of stone and flowers. Well, it's a beautiful drive, she thought to herself. She relaxed in the seat, but not for long. Her heart skipped a beat. They had stopped at a cemetery. "Why are we here?" she asked, a strange chill creeping into her bones that she couldn't quite comprehend. Her mother's hands trembled as she unbuckled the seatbelt.
"Sweetheart, there's something I need to show you."
Margaret followed reluctantly. Her pulse quickened with every step. The smell of damp earth, wilting roses, and a suffocating weight was pressing against her chest.
"Why do I feel so lightheaded, Mom?"
"It'll be okay. I'm here for you, honey," her mother whispered. Then they stopped. A single gravestone stood before her, its smooth marble surface gleaming under this afternoon sun. Margaret's breath caught as she read the description. Daniel Whitmore, loving husband and cherished soul, May 2nd, 1978 to June 3rd, 2021. Her fingers clutched at her chest, her vision blurring as her knees gave out beneath her. "No," she whispered in her fragile, cracking voice. Memories, jagged and relentless, flooded her mind. The funeral, the condolences, the loneliness, the unbearable silence of an empty home that was once full of dreams and hope. The untouched voicemails, the cold sight of a bed that never warmed again. Yet she had set his plate every morning, laid out his clothes, spoken to him as though he had never left. Her mind had protected her, woven a fragile world where he still existed for only her. But the truth had been there all along, just beyond the veil of her denials. Margaret's mother knelt beside her, wrapping her arms around her shaking form. "It's time to come back, sweetheart. Daniel would not want you to live like this," she murmured, tears slipping down her cheeks. Margaret let out a broken sob, "Oh," and pressed her forehead against the cool marble. Daniel was never coming home again, and for the first time in the last few years, she finally understood.